Welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast, brought to you by JSL Solutions. The Church Solutions Podcast is designed to help equip you and your church in the use of technology and other tools and services. And now, here are your hosts, Steve Lacy and Phil Thompson.
Thank you for being with us today for another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.
Hi, my name is Steve Lacy.
And I'm Phil Thompson. We come to you every week with our podcast here. We're a company called JSL Solutions, and we are a company that serves churches primarily with StreamingChurch.tv, ChurchAppLive.com, which is a mobile app, and MyFlock.com, which is church management, website templates. We also have Greeter.church. But enough about us. Steve and I are going to, we cover a wide range of subjects because we are both involved in ministry. We talk a lot about enabling people who are volunteers in church ministry as well as pastors. We all have a lot of experience here. Today we're going to talk about much more tech-related topic.
Yes, today we're going to be talking about our conversion from RTMP to HLS.
All right, the conversion from RTMP, which is a protocol that we're using when it comes to streaming. So why should I care about this?
Well, if you're actually one of our customers and you're using a particular encoder, you're going to need to change encoders in order to have your stream work properly in the new format.
All right, so let's just start with the basics here. First of all, why are we making a change here on this?
So let's actually back up and talk about what is RTMP and HLS,
Okay.
and then we'll kind of move into why we're doing it. So,
All right.
RTMP is actually, I don't know if, depending on how old you are, and when you were on the interwebs back in the mid to late 90s, videos started to show up through, you remember the reel player?
Yes.
And you even had dial-up and you had a reel player.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you could watch video. It was super exciting because it was
Yeah.
something kind of unheard of way back then.
Yeah, very thrilling.
And that was using a technology, and I think the RTMP comes from that original technology.
Okay.
I think it's and it's a real technology media protocol, so RTMP.
Okay.
So it was a protocol that was actually developed by Adobe back when we were just starting to have video, and it has been pretty much the predominant video format for maybe a decade or more. So maybe almost a couple of decades.
Yeah, it's probably long.
Yeah, a couple of decades now. So so RTMP is kind of the Adobe's answer to how you do streaming video. And HLS stands for actually HTTP live streaming.
Okay.
So it's an HTTP where we get all our web traffic is over just normal HTTP. Websites come up over that. And that was a standard developed by Apple years ago.
Okay.
And so what's happened is, there's, kind of like the Betamax versus what was the Betamax?
Oh, there was the VHS.
VHS versus Betamax, and then we had HD versus Blu-ray, and
Right.
so this is kind of one of the format wars. So RTMP has been kind of the standard, but everything is moving to HLS.
Okay. So it's moving that direction now, and there are some like browsers that coming up pretty soon. You're going to have to do, and you'll have to enable RTMP on the browser, right? It won't just be an automatic thing like it always has been.
Right. The RTMP protocol on your browser relies on a Flash component for it to run, and Flash is going away. Apple and Adobe, when they first got started, had I don't know if our listeners are aware, but they were partners in getting the whole PC industry off the ground. And then I guess they had a falling out, and Apple was rebelling against Adobe. And so that war has kind of continued on. And
that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. So Flash is kind of going away. And I have heard rumors over the years of some security issues with Flash. I don't know if that's really how valid that is.
Yeah.
But,
in the past, the Flash has had a not a great reputation because there's lots of Flash up. Yeah, there were security vulnerabilities and that sort of thing. So it's basically Apple and kind of the industry is moving towards the HLS standard. So we're kind of staying ahead of the game, and we're going to make that conversion over to the HLS format.
Okay. We being StreamingChurch.tv.
Yeah, StreamingChurch.tv.
Okay. So what does this mean then for, you've got some key volunteers listening to this podcast, some pastors who are doing streaming video. What does this mean for them?
So for most people, there's going to be no impact. It's only those that are using an encoder that doesn't support the AAC audio format, which is also another Apple format. So the video gets encoded with, there's a video codec, and we use H.264 on both of these platforms, the RTMP and the HLS.
Right.
And then there's an audio component, and you can encode your audio with either MP3 or AAC.
Okay.
So
I remember the old days where the video format was VP6.
Yeah, that's an older video format as well. So everything today is in the H.264 format. Yeah. So if you're using an encoder that can only do H.264 and MP3, and pretty much the only encoder to date that is still in use that has that capability, or has that limited capability, is the Flash Media Live encoder on a PC. Okay. So if you're on a Mac, you don't have that constraint. But
so the Adobe Flash Media Live encoder, which has been around for a long time, and it's really a fairly stable live encoder, but has not been updated since 2009.
2009. I think that was the last update with the version 3.2.
Yeah, and that's been it.
Yes, and Adobe has basically said we're done with encoders, and so this is our last offering. It's a free encoder if you're using it right now, but it hasn't been updated in 7 years, going on 8 years. Okay. So the video world is rapidly changing. We're getting high definition cameras and HD quality and all that sort of thing. So that encoder is getting very dated now.
Well, it's never done well since I've been working here. It's never done well with a high definition, high resolution setup. It never works. It lags. I was talking with a customer.
Or it won't even, you hook an HD camera up to your computer and it won't recognize the camera.
Won't recognize it. There are some customers that have somehow or another been able to get it to recognize it, but then there's an audio video lag. The audio video is out of sync, I should say.
Yeah, out of sync. Yeah.
I was just talking to somebody, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, because we've been sending emails out, and we'll send another one out saying, here's what's coming, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But and I was talking to a customer about upgrading. We call it an upgrade because it really is to a different live encoder. And I said, I'm curious. I said, you don't seem to be having any problems, and yet you're streaming at a pretty high resolution. I said, normally there's an issue with, video and audio getting out of sync with Adobe Flash Media Live encoder. And they said, oh, that's why it's doing that. I said, yes, that's why it's doing that. So they got rid of it, and I think they're using vMix, which we'll get into here in a moment about alternatives.
Right.
But let me just clarify this again, just for our listeners. So if you happen to have a Mac and you're running Adobe Flash Media Live encoder on your Mac, so you have a Mac version of that has an audio inside that live encoder. There's a setting, and you can set your audio either to MP3 or AAC. And you should be, if you have a Mac, you should be running AAC format for the audio. If you're not, you're going to have issues when we make this change. But if you're doing this already, it won't affect you at all. Although we would encourage you to consider, a different live encoder.
Right.
But you could get around with it. But if you're on a PC and you're running Adobe Flash Media Live Encoder, unless you happen to have, there's a plugin you could get.
You could have purchased
years ago from Main Concepts.
For $180. So you probably remember buying that.
Yeah, you probably would, which enables you to run an AAC format as far as an audio format. So I guess you could get away with that if you want to keep doing that.
Right.
But the MP3 version on the audio won't work. It's not going to work well. And so that's just, hopefully we didn't confuse too many people, but there really needs to be a change if you're running a PC and you're running Adobe Flash Media Live Encoder.
Right.
All right.
So we're going to make the switch over to this other player on November 1st.
Okay. So when you say other player, so tell us about that. So we want people to switch live encoders because of this HLS streaming. But there's also the reason behind all this is there's going to be a different video player on your StreamingChurch.tv platform.
Right.
So when people are streaming, they're looking at video, and that player that they're looking at now is going to change come November 1st.
Right. Most people won't notice.
Nobody would know.
Change,
right.
But it will be a different player. You'll notice that the controls they'll look a little different. The stop and play and the volume adjustment will be a little different.
Okay. So that is going to automatically happen. Nobody's going to have to do anything as far as the player goes.
Right, exactly.
It's an automatic change that's going to take place when you open up your StreamingChurch.tv platform where people watch video and chat and maps and all that stuff. They won't have to do anything there. Just open it up and it will be already changed for them.
Yes.
But they will have to change if they're running Flash Media Live Encoder as the live encoder sending the stream. That they will have to change themselves.
Yes. Yeah. So
good.
For the majority of our customers and the majority of people out there, there's going to be no action required.
Right. Okay.
But if you're one of those on a PC running Flash Media Live Encoder, you will need to take some action.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the HLS stream. I mean, there's pros and cons to this, I assume. Let's talk about the pros. I mean, what's so good about making this change?
As I mentioned, this is the emerging standard. It has become the most popular format. Some of the governing bodies were trying to steer things in a different direction, but the tide just kind of went towards HLS, and so some of the pros on it. So therefore, everyone's accepted it, and it is the playback is available on the broadest range of devices.
So when you say devices, you're talking about mobile phones.
I'm talking mobile phones, Roku players, computers, wherever else you may watch video.
Okay.
It's the HLS standard is widely supported, and so it's available on the most platforms of any. So, with our stream that we were working before, we do send out an HLS stream to all those other devices, but we were relying on an RTMP stream for on the web for within a browser.
Okay, all right.
But we're going to move everything to HLS now.
Okay. All right, and so there's lots of little features that when we make that change, if people can recall this, or if you're doing this, the video screen logos are going to cover the full screen now.
Right, we had some limited.
Yeah, there's some limited
capabilities with the player that's in there right now. So we're going to be able to have a lot more control over your standby message that is displayed when you're not streaming. Okay. When you're not streaming, the message that appears is actually a lot more graceful. Before, with the player we have right now, if there's not a stream underway, it gives you an error message.
Right.
And this has a little more appealing. The stream is not available at this time.
Okay.
Kind of a thing.
Looks a little prettier, so to speak. I see here in your notes, it says one of the pros of going with this HLS streaming is improved pause and resume with a live stream.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So one of the things with this different video format, On our current player, you pause and then you resume several minutes later. It will pick up with the current the video. It'll jump to wherever that broadcast is in that time. With this one, you'll be able to pause, wait a few minutes, and hit resume, and it'll pick up right where you paused.
Oh, that's cool.
So it kind of acts like your DVR feature on your television.
Oh, okay. So you have to go take the garbage out or feed the cat.
Yeah, whatever it may be, you can hit pause, and when you come to resume, it will pick up right where it left off. Now, I haven't tested what the limits of that are, but I've been up to 15 minutes or so, and it will do that.
Okay. In a moment, I want to talk about the alternatives to live encoders, to the Flash Media Live Encoder, because we really haven't got into that. But before we get there, let me just talk a little more about this HLS player that's going to be automatically on people's websites. So lots of positive things here. Any cons to this at all?
Yeah, there's a couple of cons, and the most noticeable, let's call it difference that you will see as you broadcast right now on the web. If you go to tune in to something you're broadcasting, the playback is 5 to 15 seconds behind, the actual live event.
Oh yeah, if you're on the computer, you mean?
Yeah, if you're on the computer. So with this new player, the playback's going to be 30 seconds to 90 seconds behind live.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a larger delay in the playback. Now, people viewing on the web, unless they're in the facility, they're not going to know any difference.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
It's much like watching the Cubs and Dodgers game. It's actually delayed by a few seconds when you're watching it. So
you never know.
You never know unless you're watching in the stadium.
So this could be about a minute or a little longer, but it's already like that on iOS devices.
Yes.
I mean, if you pull out your iPhone, because we live and breathe this stuff all the time, so we're always testing things, and so there's already a delay on all iOS products of about 60 to 90 seconds anyhow.
Yes.
But that's, again, that's nobody knows unless you happen to be at the live service, and for whatever reason you're watching it on your phone while you're there.
Right.
It's really no reason.
And then one other con, and it's a minor thing, a subtle thing. The player, the RTMP based player we've been using, as I mentioned, has been around for a long time. So it's kind of gone through an evolution, and they've added new features. And one of the new features is you had more control over the look and feel of the playback, the stop button, the pause button. They call it the scrubber that allows you to fast forward, that sort of thing.
Right.
In our current setup, you can choose different color combinations and different icons for all that. This newer player has evolved and doesn't have as many of those visual control features.
Okay. Options.
Yeah, options.
Color options.
Button shapes for the play button and the stop button and that sort of thing. That's a minor thing.
All right. So we've already sent out several emails talking about this change. It's going to happen November 1st, 2016. And if you happen to be an admin person and you haven't got those emails, you need to email us, because somehow or another you're not on the list. Just support at StreamingChurch.tv. But let's talk now. I'm sure there's several people going, well, what do I do? I've got the Adobe Flash Media Live Encoder on my PC. I know I can use it on my Mac, but we stream with a PC. What do we do? So there's 2 or 3 different encoders out there that we would probably recommend as an alternative.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. So the number one recommendation that we recommend right now for those on a PC is vMix.
vMix, V-M-I-X.
Yeah, vmix.com. If you go to vmix.com, and they have a free version and then a one step up from their free version. It allows you to do some additional HD mixing. And one of the nice things about this encoder, there's several features that are not available with the Flash Media Live encoder.
Okay.
So
it's more of a studio. It gives you more of a studio feel.
Right. It allows you to take more than one camera input. So you can bring in more than one camera. You can also have access to video files and image files that are on your computer. Mm-hmm. So you can go through and switch and do fades and cuts and different things from either.
Can you do lower thirds on it?
Yes, and you can you can put up the lower thirds with vMix. This is all available in their free version.
Okay.
And so you go there and you download. So you go to vmix.com. And there's a big download button right there, and you download and install and then launch this thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we have a little video on it, I think, that can help too as well. So, and that's free, or you can get a little more of an upgraded version for $60. $60 give you a little higher resolution.
Right. Allows you to, they also have a 60-day free trial, which is a very generous free trial.
Yeah.
So
what happens after 60 days?
After 60 days, if you haven't purchased the HD version that you're using, it'll revert back to the lower resolution. Yeah. So you may need to turn down the resolution on your camera inputs and that sort of thing. But the $60 version of this is what we would recommend.
Right.
And it's a great option. It's something that is continually supported and updated. Yeah. It is kind of it's an up and coming tool.
Yeah.
So
well, they're based, I believe, out of Australia, and I think so far I think the customer support's been pretty good on it too. But they're kind of going after Wirecast market, I guess, because Wirecast would be another one that you could use.
Right. And another comment on the vMix as well as the Wirecast, we are a preset, so setting it up is very simple. Whereas you have to type into FMS URL fields and stream name fields and that sort of thing in Flash Media Live Encoder. With vMix, you just put in your username and you choose us from the destination list, StreamingChurch.tv. Put in your username and password, and it will set itself up.
Yeah, you're good to go. And speaking of settings, we didn't talk about this, but with this change taking place November 1st, are people going to have to make any kind of a change with the actual settings, with the actual RTMP URL that many people are used to using?
No, the settings will remain the same.
So people won't have to have new settings or anything like that?
No new settings. No. Yeah. The only thing is you're going to want to stream your audio using AAC, and AAC is built into vMix. It's actually the default.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So vMix is a great option to Flash Media Live Encoder. Takes a minute or two to download. It's pretty easy to set up. And then also, as we just mentioned earlier, Wirecast is an alternative, but it's not free.
Yes, Wirecast has been around for a while. They're kind of the gorilla in the space. They have a more expensive encoder. We, too, are a preset on Wirecast as well, so the setup is pretty easy. Wirecast is $450, is that right?
It's about $500.
Oh, okay.
$500. You can download the demo version, and you can use it all day long, but it has the Wirecast watermark on it, and it has a mysterious voice that comes out of nowhere that says, "This is Wirecast."
Yeah. So if you wanted to look at Wirecast, definitely download it, install it. Yeah. It's available on the PC and the Mac.
And they're always upgrading Wirecast too. But I think here's the deal with Wirecast, I think, is if you buy the product and then when they come out with another upgrade, you have to buy the upgrade, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, that is true. Depending on what the upgrade is, as they move from one version to another, you have to repurchase. They give you a discount, but it's you do have to repurchase it. Yeah. But it's a great product, been around for a long time.
Yeah, it has been. So what's another alternative?
So another option is another free option, just like Flash Media Live Encoder is free, and that's the Open Broadcaster Software Project, OBS.
OBS.
Yes, so if you go to obsproject.org, I believe.
That's it. I think so.
And it's a free encoder, and it too is kind of an up and coming encoder. It's well maintained. They've been adding new features. It's what they call an open source product. It's available on a variety of platforms, including the PC. If you go to the OBS, you want to make sure that you download and install the studio version. They have
there's two different versions.
Yeah,
they studio
have for the PC they have a classic version and a studio version. Yeah. So they they kind of point you to the studio version, and that's the version you're going to need to have.
Okay. Now there's no preset. We're on. You mentioned earlier about we're a preset on Wirecast. We're a preset on vMix. We're not on.
We're not a preset on. Yeah, there's actually very, very few presets on OBS. Yeah.
So you just have to manually put in the RTMP.
Yes, the URL and the stream name, and different encoders call things different things, but the on Flash Media Live encoder they call it an FMS URL, and on OBS they call it the stream URL, I believe, or server URL.
Yeah, and then stream key would be...
Yes, on Flash Media Live encoder they call it the stream name, and on OBS they call it the stream key.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, I think we won't get into too much of those details. I think the stream key on OBS is a little bit different than what it would be on Flash Media Live encoder. Usually we are on Flash, it's live.mp4. But I think on OBS it's going to be just live.
Yeah, yes. If you're choosing OBS, and you have any trouble, just contact us, support at StreamingChurch.tv, and we can work you through it.
It's just one little thing. Okay, all right, good. Okay, so did we cover everything?
I guess we did. Right. Yes. So this change is coming. So if you're on Flash Media Live encoder on a PC, then you're going to want to make some changes before you can stream. We're here to help you. Yep. It's a good idea to do this
now.
Yes, that's another thing we've had people ask, can we do it now? Yes, you can do it now.
Absolutely.
And we actually recommend you do it now, even prior to the change. So as you make the change, you switch your encoder, it's still going to work just as it always has. Mm-hmm. You don't need to wait until November 1st.
Yeah, please don't wait till Sunday morning.
Yes, don't wait till Sunday morning because, you will.
It's just not a good idea.
It's not a good time to have to make a bunch of new changes. So, yes.
All right. Sounds good. We are out of time, so good timing. So this is all about HLS streaming. And if you have any questions, as Steve said earlier, just send us an email, support@StreamingChurch.tv, or you can chat live during regular business hours by just going to StreamingChurch.tv and click the little chat icon, and we'll chat with you about it and help you through. We'll help you every step of the way, as we always do with everything. So let us know. And I guess we'll just wrap it up here.
Sounds great.
Good deal. All right. So he's Steve Lacy. I'm Phil Thompson. And thank you for spending a little bit of time with us on the latest edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. We hope you have a great day, and we will catch you next time. Take care.